All right, Nick, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. One thing we've been talking about all offseason, really even part of last season as well, is the culture change that coach Antonio Pierce has brought to the Raiders. I think the fans will agree with us. The Raiders are slowly but surely becoming the Raiders that we used to know and love once again. They have that edge back, they have that mental toughness back. Nobody wants to face the Raiders anymore because they have that dog in them once again. And I think that is ever present in Antonio Pierce shows that he is keeping that mentality all the way through the offseason. He is not stopping one bit. I'm excited. Let's get into the article and here's some things that Antonio Pierce had to say on Max Crosby's podcast. Let's get into it and we will talk about it more on the other side. This over on NBC Sports. It says, there's usually a difference between things players and coaches will say among themselves and the things they will say publicly. In his recent appearance on Max Crosby's podcast, new Raiders coach Antonio Pierce swung a sledgehammer at that wall. Pierce talked openly about playing Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes the same way the Pistons used to play Michael Jordan, with relentless and gratuitous physicality. Pierce also said this, we've got to knock the head off of the snake being 15, Patrick Mahomes. I think this just shows that edge back. I think I love this quote by head coach Antonio Pierce. Nick, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this whole, interview and quote by coach Antonio Pierce. But Raiders fans, in the comment section below, I know it's early. I know that Coach Pierce really hasn't had a full season to show you what he's been able to do with the new staff he's built. But I think we're pretty much done with the roster building as far as the coaches and things like that goes. So before we hit free agency, give us a grade in the comments below. What do you think about Antonio Pierce's job building a new roster of coaches for this team? Let us know your grade for him in the comment section below. But Nick, what do you think about this latest comment by Coach Pierce?
So first and foremost, right, it's abnormal. It's strange, right, to see I hear a head coach, right, saying we're going to go after a specific player, right? Everyone kind of knows it, but to be so public about it, right? A lot of people concerned is like, is this Bounty Gate-ish kind of thing going on? But I love it from Antonio Pearson. I love it from the Raiders because this is who the Raiders are at their cultural core. They are the renegades. They are the Mavericks. They are the guys that play outside the rules a little bit. They live in the gray area, right? They're the silver gray, right? They live in that area. That's how they like to play. Culturally, that's the way they've always played. It goes back to Jack Tatum with the vicious hits over the middle. Fred Blitnikoff with the stick right from those Raiders from those great days. Cliff Branch beating people over the top, being very, very physical, different mentality. You had Ted Hendricks jumping over, abusing people. That's old school Raider football. You can take it all the way with Lincoln Kennedy mauling people, right? In more recent times, this is just how the Raiders like to be. This is who they innately are culturally. And Antonio Pierce has shown the unique ability to tap into that. Right. One of the things of the one recent success story in the NFL is, of course, Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions, how he created a new culture. It was a little harder because obviously, excuse me, the Lions were having some problems for a really, really long time, being a good football team, finding a culture. And Dan Campbell had to kind of create one out of whole cloth. Antonio Pierce very smartly and just instinctively is able to tap into that natural Raiders culture, right? And just by imbibing that and just taking it all in and just expressing it out in the world. Because I guarantee you a lot of people, a lot of soft-minded people in the media were like, oh, how could a coach say this to go after a quarterback? And oh my goodness, that is just awful and terrible. And that's just not how the game should be played. But the Raiders are the only one of the 32 teams that I think, yeah, they kind of want to play that way. They want to live in the gray area. They want to be physical. They want to be tough. They want to think and do things differently than everybody else. It may be 2024, but the Raiders kind of want to live a little bit, not all the time, in 1972. And I love that about Antonio Pierce, the fact that he embraces it, the fact he's open about it and public about it, because it's that kind of attitude, that sort of old schoolish mentality, that old school mixed with new school, that I guarantee you will attract players and get players to want to join the Raiders. They'll get rookies to come into the Raiders and buy in day one. It's sort of like the old school Miami Hurricanes, how everybody wanted to go to the U. I guarantee you what we're hearing from Antonio Pierce, we're going to start hearing about a lot of players. They want to go to Vegas and they're going to want to be a Raider. And Antonio Pierce is a big factor in that.
Yeah, Nick, and you talk about, it's 2024, mind your P's, mind your Q's, don't want to step on any toes. And we've seen it time and time again. Whenever that polarizing figure comes out there, whenever someone comes out and just says what everybody's thinking. Like, Raiders fans, many people are watching TV and just be like, God, why doesn't someone just hit Patrick Mahomes? Like if someone could get back there and just start to lay the wood on him a couple of times, it's going to really, just disrupt the passing game. It's going to disrupt the game. People are thinking that all the time. For a coach to come out there and say it, someone's like, yeah, I think that's what we should do. It's finally a breath of fresh air when someone's not afraid. It's not like he's being mean. He's not like saying, well, I'm gonna, target Patrick Mahomes' hurt left ankle. We're gonna go after that. That's a different story. He's just talking about objectively being like relentlessly and brutally aggressive towards the other team, just in a football term, in a football sense of things. And it's a breath of fresh air for someone to say the thing that everybody is thinking. And I think, like you said, fits the Raiders 100%. Every single day, I feel like there's a news story that comes out that reaffirms my trust that Antonio Pierce was the right coaching choice for the Las Vegas Raiders. And as a fan, you got to love that because this is a long offseason. There's a lot of time for you to second guess or doubt any choices made by this organization. But when a guy keeps on again and again and again saying the right things, doing the right things, you got to feel good about something like that.
And just one more thing to end on, him being aggressive and being publicly saying their strategy is going to be, we're going to be ruthlessly aggressive and physical to Patrick Mahomes. It's also like a smart strategy to actually beat the Kansas City Chiefs, right? It's not like it's a dumb strategy. It's like, no, that's how you need to play the Chiefs to beat them. You need to disrupt Patrick Mahomes. You need to be physical to him. So not only is he also instinctively tapping into the Raiders culture, not only is he also kind of saying what everybody's thinking and making that old school, new school energy come together, he also is a smart tactician in terms of strategy to beat the Chiefs. Antonio Pierce, so far, I mean, granted it's early, but has done everything perfect that you would want for a new Raiders head coach. And I agree with you, Miles. I'm very excited to see how it works out over the course of the rest of this offseason and then when 2024 finally kicks off.